trade war, Canada and China fired the latest shots today. The province of Ontario put a 25% surcharge on electricity sales to Michigan, Minnesota, and New York. Ed O'Keefe will have more about that from Ottawa.
But first, China slapped an additional 15% import tax on American farm products, including pork, poultry, beef, and soybeans. And Lana Zach is in the heart of farm country, Mount Vernon, Iowa.
These are all beef cows.
Tim Keegan calls himself a pretty basic Iowa farmer. His family's been working the land in Mount Vernon, a few hours east of Des Moines, for generations. Their livelihood comes from corn, soybeans, and a small herd of 150 cows.
How high are the stakes for you?
It's tough because within agriculture, we essentially get one chance a year to raise a crop and market that crop and sell that crop.
You don't have like 5 different harvests.
No, it's not like we're a factory where we're constantly putting out widgets every day and we can make a change and the widget's going to come out cheaper or different the next day. So we're forced to be a lot more forward thinking, just the nature of our business.
China is the largest overseas market for many U.S. farm products. Last year, the U.S. exported nearly $13 billion worth of soybeans from farmers like Keegan to China alone, and another $1.5 billion in beef. Now, import tariffs up to 15% from China are hitting cash crops.
I think people within agriculture are hoping that some of this is these tariffs and stuff will be short-term from a negotiation standpoint. And if they are long-term, they will have some pretty big impacts within the industry.
41 years later, we're still here.
But Mount Vernon's mayor, Thomas Weasler, says even short-term tariffs on the town's farmers could send shockwaves through the economy.
We need them to be successful. And on every level, we need a thriving agricultural community. Otherwise, there's a gap in what we provide to our citizens here. It will ripple down through our main street, through our community, and it'll affect local leadership.
I'm Ed O'Keefe in Ottawa. Today, Canada's largest province, Ontario, added a 25% tariff on the cost of electricity wired to about 1.5 million customers in Minnesota, Michigan, and New York.
Believe me when I say I do not want to do this.
Ontario's Premier Doug Ford repeating a message he first told CBS News last week.
I feel terrible for the American people because it's not the American people who started this trade war. It's one person who's responsible. That's President Trump.
Most Canadian imports are facing a 25% tariff, and President Trump is threatening others on Canadian dairy and lumber that could start next month. The on-again, off-again tariffs anger Canada's new leader.
These are dark days. Dark days brought on by a country we can no longer trust.
Mark Carney, a Harvard-educated economist who once worked for Goldman Sachs, will succeed Justin Trudeau after a race that centered around Trump's tariffs and threats to make Canada the 51st state.
The Americans want our resources, our water, our land, our country. Think about it. If they succeeded, they would destroy our way of life.
François-Philippe Champagne is Canada's Minister of Industry.
I think there's a better understanding from the American people that tariff on Canada is really like a tax on Americans.
You've been involved in U.S.-Canadian relations for many years.
10 years.
Has it ever been this salty?
Never. And it doesn't need to be that way.
Ed O'Keefe joins us now from Ottawa. So, Ed, what else do we expect the Canadians to do in response here?
Well, today the head of Ontario didn't rule out potentially cutting off that electricity that he sends to Minnesota, Michigan, and New York if this continues. That obviously would be a big pain point. What we don't know yet is how the cost of this is really going to be felt by American households. Arguably, the longer this goes on, inevitably the price will be there, and then we'll see about other tariffs that the Canadians might put in place, retaliating against the ones we're putting on them.
And Ed, normally we see you from the White House. What's the White House saying about what people should think about these economic difficulties?
Well, in part, they're cleaning up the sort of unclear message or the mixed message from the president over the weekend about whether or not he can definitively rule out a recession, which he could not. But they argue short-term stock market pain is designed to readjust the American economy for long-term gain felt more by the working class. And we should point out over the weekend, the president's tariffs earned a big endorsement from a former critic, the head of the United Auto Workers Union, saying that tariffs are a good thing because it's going to help boost American manufacturing. So we'll see what the political pain looks like alongside the economic hurt many are feeling tonight.